In a small, vibrant home in Verona, New Jersey, a young Nicole McLaughlin sat absorbed in her surroundings. When she wasn't watching her dad build and repair items as a carpenter, she was learning interior design from her mom, both of which exposed Nicole to creativity very early on. Along with her parents, the time Nicole spent with her grandfather were some of the most influential moments in her life. On weekends, she and her sister would visit their grandfather's workshop, but instead of playing with plastic toys like other kids her age, Nicole was given hammers and nails to create whatever she wanted. When she was home, you could barely keep her indoors. She was having too much fun being outside, playing in dirt, and exploring the weirdness of nature. Being the only girl in her 6th grade woodshop and robotics class didn't matter to her. If the boys laughed, who cares? She just wanted to build things and figure out how they worked. In her eyes, life was best experienced through a hands-on approach. Nearing the end of high school, Nicole found herself in a 3-year relationship with her deaf boyfriend, and despite her interest in art and photography, it was her fluency in sign language that ultimately shaped the next move in her life. Just a few months after submitting her application, Nicole was accepted at Pennsylvania's East Stroudsburg University, where she would study speech pathology. Her goal was to learn more about the artistic side of sign language, but the program she enrolled in was mainly focused on neurology and phonetics, both of which failed to ignite her curiosities. So 1 year later, during her sophomore year of college, Nicole needed a break from language and, on a whim, decided to take an entry-level course on photography. This class instantly brought her back to her childhood, and wanting to learn more, Nicole ran to her advisor and quickly changed her major from speech pathology to media communications. By switching her major, Nicole became exposed to new classes and internships that would help pave the way for her future successes. Throughout her college career, she developed various skills in Illustrator and Photoshop, and upon graduating from East Stroudsburg University in 2015, Nicole was offered a job at Reebok as a graphic design apprentice, despite having no prior knowledge around garment construction or patterns. At just 21 years old, Nicole packed up her belongings in Pennsylvania, moved to Boston, and began her new venture at Reebok. When her apprenticeship came to an end in 2016, Nicole was offered a permanent position to work on Reebok's classics apparel category. It was in this new position that she would open her eyes, discover her purpose, and become the Nicole McLaughlin that we all know and love to this day. But before we get into it, we gotta run it back.
I'm just sitting on the TV watching couch. It get toxic, I ain't boxing. I unbox me a Glock and I knocked him out. I need an ounce of that kush, I can't go without. I keep slurring my speech, I've been smoking weed I can't pronounce. Man, if anybody snitching, believe it's gon' get announced. But he take it or leave it, I'm sticking firm to the amount. If you seen your boy out in traffic, you must have been en route. Money stupid, dirty, can't even put bucks in account.
One day, while Nicole was sitting at her desk, frustrated with work and overwhelmed with failed sample products, she looked down and had an interesting thought. What does Reebok do with all of this wasted material? After a quick stroll around the headquarters, she soon discovered that all the sample materials were being thrown away. And if this was happening at Reebok, then it must be happening at every major retailer, and the thought alone sickened her. With her eyes now open to the unsustainable negative side of fashion, Nicole began thinking of ways to help reduce the impact of overproduction. As a designer who was always curious about how things were made, Nicole stood up, grabbed a pair of scissors, and started cutting things apart. If Reebok wasn't going to pay her to repurpose and remake products, then she would do it as her own personal project. And that's exactly what she started doing. During her downtime at work and countless nights at home, Nicole was feverishly using Reebok's scrap fabrics to remake new and exciting items. Not knowing how to formally build products, she was doing everything she could to bring her ideas together, which often meant a combination of hot glue and staples. At the time, she had no idea how to sew. And after many failed attempts at creating a functional product, Nicole became frustrated. Online, she saw everyone from kids to Balenciaga recreating IKEA bags, yet she couldn't recreate something herself. That is, until one day, as she was walking down the hall at Reebok, she saw a pair of discarded sneakers. The blue sole immediately caught her eye. It matched the IKEA bags perfectly. Just a few days later, on April 23, 2017, Nicole McLaughlin posted her first ever shoe, a blue sandal with 3 IKEA block letter straps. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. Over the next couple of months, Nicole began experimenting with everything. She made Battleship clutch purses, Reebok Heelys, LL Bean sweater shoes, and even North Face table tennis rackets. But it was her next design that would open her mind and change her life forever. On September 23, 2018, Nicole McLaughlin logged onto Instagram and posted her most favorite piece to date, the volleyball shoe. It wasn't just her favorite because it looked good, it was her favorite because it helped her realize that she could do anything she set her mind to. For the first time ever, Nicole had completely reimagined a product and made something entirely new out of it. A volleyball was no longer just a volleyball. It could be many things, even a shoe. Looking around her room, she realized that things aren't meant to be constrained to what we perceive them to be. In her eyes, everything could be anything. It was at that exact moment that she completely changed the way she looked at and interacted with the world around her. Nothing was off limits. Foam-fingered chairs, tennis ball shoes, beanie sweaters, reusable bag vests, balloon sandals, you name it. Any weird, crazy idea that she could think of, she made it happen. Although people liked her products, she wasn't in it for the publicity. She was just chasing the challenge. But what was she going to do with all this newfound fame and notoriety? Her social media was exploding. Job opportunities were flying in, and Reebok by now was becoming less of a job and more of a hindrance. Not only were they avoiding her talents, they weren't really interested in upcycling nor improving their own sustainability. Nicole cared deeply about the environment. It helped shape her entire childhood. Yet Reebok didn't seem to care about that at all, and working for them started to make her feel guilty. So, in the early summer of 2019, Nicole McLaughlin made the difficult choice to quit her job and pursue a career in freelance. Despite the many concerns of self-employment, her creations were on the path to becoming a profitable business, and by now, she was more than ready for that leap of faith. Working for herself meant that Nicole was able to put sustainability at the forefront of her designs. From then on, she would no longer use new materials. Instead, everything had to be secondhand. Thrift stores became a home for her. And over the next couple of years, Nicole was unstoppable. She dove more into shoes, started experimenting with bras, vests, and even jackets. She also began landing major collaborations with some of fashion's biggest brands like Fila, Calvin Klein, Puma, Prada, Hermes, and Crocs. Even Reebok came back for a 17-piece collaboration with their former employee. And by 2020, Nicole McLaughlin had the world at her fingertips. She was collaborating with brands by day, breaking the internet by night, and on weekends she would host her own in-person workshops to teach the next generation on how to creatively reuse products. By 2021, her dreams came true. Always wanted to be up early, Nicole was on her morning walk when her phone randomly rang. She didn't recognize the number, but answered it regardless. A representative from Arc'teryx was on the line. They wanted her help in creating pieces to raise money for Black Lives Matter. She instantly agreed. Ever since she first saw the Arc'teryx store on Boston's Newbury Street in 2016, she always dreamed of working with them. Her love for Arc'teryx showed in the designs, and their collaboration was an instant success. In fact, it was such a hit that they began having wider conversations about how they could work together in the long term. By figuring out a circular model system for their jackets, Nicole McLaughlin got offered a position as Arc'teryx's first ever design ambassador. Now, in New York, Nicole McLaughlin's main goal is to highlight sustainability through upcycling. She doesn't just want to change people's perceptions about waste, she wants to start conversations around it. She believes that her work serves as a proof of concept to brands, and it's up to them to figure out what to do with all the stuff they've created. They shouldn't put the responsibility on the person who's buying their products to figure out how to discard them. Instead, brands should be actively repurposing the products they've made. As for her future, Nicole wants to focus on teaching and educating designers. As a visual, hands-on learner, school was tough for her. And reflecting on her past, Nicole wants to use workshops to develop demonstrations and classes that teach the youth the best practices on how to approach upcycled designs. On top of that, Nicole is also working to launch a nonprofit organization that connects young creatives with larger companies that can supply them deadstock materials. With this organization, she plans to highlight the hands-on aspects of making products while also providing expertise and mentorship around sustainability. Despite being a designer who made Forbes' 30 Under 30 list, Nicole doesn't really want to launch an actual brand herself. Instead, she wants to open her very own museum, but not a museum in the traditional sense. She wants to create a place where kids can come play, explore, and mess around with upcycling in a fun, engaging way, learning more about sustainability in the process. When she's not designing or climbing the rock wall in her New York office, you can find Nicole in Boulder, Colorado, hiking, exploring, and reconnecting with nature, observing the potential in everything around her. And with that, I conclude the unboxing of Nicole McLaughlin.